Hi, Mr. Zagis. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. This is the video expose project, and before we explain a little bit about it, my name is Livia. My name is Gabby. My name is Marco. So in this video, we're going to tell you about how our partners multiple intelligence examinations, including interview with classmates, seniors, and also visualization about them. Howard Gardner is the developmental psychologist, professor for theory of multiple intelligences. The first multiple intelligence is physical intelligence. People with this intelligence tend to remember tasks very fast and learn between us. And the second one is naturalist. People with naturalist intelligence likes to be intelligence is kinesthetic, which means they have very good body coordination. The fourth intelligence is visual spatial, which means that they understand graphs, charts, and images rather than words. The fifth intelligence is linguistic, which means that they are very good with words and they can understand big words and use them in their everyday dictionary. Intelligence is kinesthetic, which means they have very good body coordination. The fourth intelligence is visual spatial, which means that they understand graphs, charts, and images rather than words. The fifth intelligence is linguistic, which means that they are very good with words and they can understand big words and use them in their everyday dictionary.
So the sixth intelligence is interpersonal. People with this intelligence is good at self-reflection and self-aware. The seventh intelligence is interpersonal. People with this intelligence is good at understanding other motivation, goals, and desire. And the last intelligence is logical. People with this intelligence is good at finding patterns and thinking logically.
Ow! How did you not feel or hear that?
And their only purpose is to follow what doing says. All we are is just eating fur for sweaters and chopped up for meat to eat. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how we're being treated.
Hi, are you in need of an eraser? No? Well, this can erase any error. The rubbery texture gives you maximum comfort in holding and erasing. And you are not only limited to only erasing, but according to Pinterest, you can also carve it, add ink, and boom, you've got yourself an easy stamp. The possibilities are endless, and it can make all your erasing dreams come true. What was the surprise again?
What happened? What did she say? So she did her homework last night. And she lost it. How can you know that?
Aren't you eating?
No.
It's recess.
So? Can't relate.
So actually, more people like movies rather than reading.
Okay.
Sorry, can you stop her?
Oh, okay.
Ouch, mosquitoes. Later.
So this is my intelligence test result. Linguistic 90, naturalist 80, logical and musical 77, interpersonal 70, kinesthetic and intrapersonal 67, visual 60. So this is my pie chart of multiple intelligences. Musical and logical 13%, naturalist 14%, linguistic 15%, interpersonal 12%, kinesthetic 11%, intrapersonal 11%, and visual 10%. My top intelligence is linguistic. Why? Because I join debate a lot and also I do presentation in front of people. My least dominant intelligence is visual, because I'm also bad at navigation and reading maps.
This is a bar chart of my multiple intelligence. Interpersonal and musical 70, linguistics 63, interpersonal 60, visual 53, kinesthetic 47, logical 37, and naturalist 27. This is a pie chart of my multiple intelligence. Interpersonal 14%, linguistics 15%, musical and intrapersonal 16%, visual 12%, kinesthetic 11%, logical 9%, and naturalist 6%. This is a graph of my intrapersonal intelligence, which is one of my most dominant intelligence. And I think that's because I am more aware and in touch with my emotions compared to other people. This graph is of my naturalist intelligence, which is one of my most least dominant intelligence, and it's because I don't go out as often and I don't appreciate nature as much as other people.
So this is my intelligence. My intrapersonal is 43, my natural is 43, my linguistic is 40, my logical is 40, my visual is 40, my musical is 37, my interpersonal is 23, and my kinesthetic is 20. So this is my intelligence. My intrapersonal is 15%, my natural is 15%, my logical is 14%, my linguistic is 14%, my visual is 14%, my musical is 13%, my interpersonal is 8%, and my kinesthetic is 7%. So this is my intrapersonal, and it's my most intelligence because I like to self-reflect. This is my kinesthetic intelligence, and it's my least intelligence because I cannot do sports.
Before we start, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ashley and I'm from 9A.
When you're studying, do you prefer being outdoors or indoors, and why?
I prefer being indoors just because outdoors there's a lot more noises and it helps me focus more when I'm indoors.
When you're studying, do you prefer being in a silent or crowded environment, and why?
I prefer being in a silent environment because crowds make me uncomfortable and the silence helps me focus.
When you're studying, do you prefer studying alone or in a group? Why?
I prefer studying alone because in groups I don't feel as productive and alone I feel more comfortable.
Hi, before we start, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Future and I'm from 9A.
So when you're studying, do you prefer studying alone or with help of a private teacher or parents, and why?
I prefer studying with a private teacher because I study better with her.
Which one is easier for you, memory-based school subjects or calculation-based school subjects, and why?
Definitely memory-based because I'm not good at calculating.
Which do you prefer, studying long before the exam day or studying the night before the exam day, and why?
Studying long before the exam day, but I never do that.
So, the day before?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Buchi. Hi, before we start, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Cecile, I'm from 9A.
What action do you usually do when there are exams coming up?
I usually study really hard the day before the test.
Where do you usually study for exams, and why do you pick that place?
Usually in my bedroom because it's really silent so I can really focus on studying and I can play the music really hard without someone complaining.
When do you usually study for exams, and why do you pick that time of day?
Usually 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. because that's the time when I can really concentrate well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Niken. I'm from 12th grade.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you like few questions. The first one is, what action did you do when the national examination came up?
Usually I learn from like 6 months before the exam.
Which one did you prefer? Studying long before the national exam day or studying the night before the national exam day?
Long before the national exam.
Why?
Because you can learn a lot. Like when you're studying the night before, you learn only a little of the materials.
So, do you think studying is important?
Yeah, because you learn more about the materials when you're studying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Alicia. I am 10th grader.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. The first one is, when you were in the 9th grade, where did you study for the national exam?
I study at my bedroom, so because I think that is the best place for me to study. I never tried to study outdoors before.
And then the next question is, when you were studying for the national exam, did you prefer being outdoors or indoors?
I think indoors. I never tried outdoors.
And then the last question. The last question is, when you were studying for the national exam, did you prefer being in a silent or quite crowded environment?
I prefer silent because I get more concentration to my study if it's silent.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Timothy John and I'm a 10th grader.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. The first one is, when you were in the 9th grade, when did you study for the national exam?
I studied like a week before the national exam
Why did you pick that time?
because if I study way before the national exam, I'm gonna forget some.
Okay. And the next question is, when you were studying for the national exam, did you prefer studying alone or with the help of a private teacher or parents?
I prefer alone because it's just I just like it that way.
And then the last one is, which one was easier for you? Memory-based or calculation-based national exams?
Sorry, what?
Memory-based or calculation?
Memory first.
Why?
Because I have difficulty in calculating.
Okay, thank you.
Indonesia created the national exam many years ago to see how education has developed and kept changing the standards for it. In this period, the examination was called as Ujian Penghabisan. All the students had to write manually their answer of the test because it was an essay test. The national exam in this period was famous as Ujian Negara. Schedule and the place of examination were determined by the central government. The material was all the lessons that had been taught. During this period, each school or group of schools did independently the examination, which location and schedule had been arranged. They also determined the results of the exams themselves. In this session, the central government conducted Eptanas, meanwhile the local government conducted EPTA. The results of the evaluation was determined from the combination between the results of Eptanas and the average of EPTA with daily result of the study that was wrote in the study report. The average of the score must not be less than 3.00. In this era, the name of the examination was UAN. The standard of the passing grade was significantly changed year by year. In UAN 2002, the passing score was determined by each lesson individually. In UAN 2003, the score for each lesson should not be less than 3.01. The minimum average score of the sum of all lessons was 6.00. The students who didn't pass the exam could have a remedial a week after UAN. Meanwhile, in UAN 2004, the graduation was determined from each marked lesson. The score must not be less than 4.01 and no minimum average score. There was also a remedial. In 2005, UAN changed into UN with the same regulation in 2004. The passing score raised to 4.25. The students who didn't pass UN Part 1 could join UN Part 2. The minimum score must be more than 4.25 for each lesson, with the minimum average score 4.50. There was no remedial. There was no remedial. The students who could not pass the exam should take ujian paket A, B, C. If they would not take paket A, B, C, they could not join UN next year. UN for senior high school regulations had changed. The total lesson for senior high school UN raised into 6 lessons within 3 lessons before. The minimal average score should not be less than 5.50 for UN. For 2 lessons, the minimum score could be 4.25, and for the other lessons, the minimum score must be less than 4.50. If the students wanted to pass UN in this year, they should reach the minimum of 5.50 for the average score, with the minimal score of 4.00 for 2 lessons only and 4.25 for the other lessons. Vocational high school students had to reach 7.00 for their score in vocational practice. The minimum average score was still the same in 2010. There were 5 packages for the test. The students in a class could get a different package of the test. It was aimed to minimize cheating among students. There were many pros and cons of changing the curriculum in 2013. There was also an issue that UN will be removed. However, UN still exists up till now. The government has developed a computer-based test for UN, but not all schools could apply this system because the facilitation doesn't support. So, they still do UN by paper. However, the government is on the way to improve the facilitation for schools in Indonesia.
So that was it for the video. Thank you for going through the whole thing, and I hope you